into it. So starting off with qualifying, we'll just start off from Fontana and then we'll work our way there. So it started off the issue from Fontana. None of the round 3 cars made it to a lap in qualifying, and a lot of people were mad. And what ended up happening was the VP competition said, we clearly want to provide our fans with what they deserve, and we and the teams didn't do a very good job of that. We're really disappointed. We really don't want to go back to single hour qualifying. There might not be another way, but we want to try and exhaust every problem before we do that because it's not as fun and as intriguing of a show as the group situation. We're going to try and figure out a way to adjust to group qualifying and not go back to single, but we've got some work to do on that. And then we go to Fontana, where no, Texas. I'm stupid. We're going to go to Texas, and it doesn't seem they tried this new rule where you can't sit in the middle lane, and if you're in the middle lane, you have to go. That didn't really work in some.
Yeah, to some extent, drivers just were able to. They get in the middle lane and then they swerve off to the left to get in front of random car, and like Joey Logano did it once and Ryan Newman did it again.
Ryan Newman was the big one though, because that actually is the reason why Clint Bowyer didn't even make it to Q2. The way I see it is kind of like the same thing as pit road. You see it happen a lot in pit road. Cars will try to turn into their pit stalls, but they don't have a good entry because it's a tight space, and then they end up being parked crooked. It's the same. It's kind of like the same way as what they have here.
I think the biggest problem with this whole system is when you get one car that goes and they're steaming, like you're not really supposed to speed, but people still do it, and then he slows down.
They stop. Like okay, that's another thing. Everyone goes, "Oh, it's very dangerous speeding on pit road." It's like, well, then clear pit road. It's not that hard. There's no.
Why do you think they do? We not remember what happens at the Charlotte All-Star race every year? I mean, they freaking fly down pit road. I know it's a little different having a bunch of cars, but
there's no. They clear pit road up until that point for that exact reason. They should do it. You don't. No one has their pit boxes to begin with, so why does it matter? If the way you can do it is you have the entire back half, like the entire back half of pit road reserved for the crews. And like what you'll do is they'll sit there, and that's where the speed limit is enforced because there's people there. They make the second half of pit road after the start finish line or something like that at Texas. I'm using Texas as a reference. Like say where the start finish line is about halfway down the pit straight. That entire second half, it's a go zone. You go as fast as you want, and you just fly. Just clear pit road. It's not that hard. That's one of the things. Like it's very dangerous to do this. Like no, it's not, because the way you get it done is you take out the thing that makes it dangerous, and that's people sitting on pit road.
Problem is you're gonna have people who start to fly and then they'll just gradually go. They'll go around the track just to go back to pit lane, and then they'll do the same shit over and over.
Yeah, that was one of the cool things. Just seeing people go flying out of the pits. I thought that was awesome because there's like a drag race that people wanted to get out first.
Did that, wasn't it? Clint Bowyer and I don't remember who else, but there were two of them.
Yeah, I don't remember either because I forget when I think it was Atlanta that I saw that happen. I just like seeing. It was fun. It was a race before they even got on the track, and you don't even have to worry about the warm up lane. It just goes straight to the track. I think.
Worst part is they're racing to get to the line. They're not racing like
each other.
Like I wish it was like they were racing for that first qualifying position. They're really just racing to get to the line.
Yeah, like so you kind of want like a dual race.
I think heat races are the way to go. When all this came up, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, there could be some easy way to do heat races. And to be honest, with this package, there is a lot less wrecks in general. Like at Atlanta, there might have been one or two. At Las Vegas, there were one or two. The drivers have a handle on everything, so I think if you did like 10-car heat races and like the top 5 moved on, the end was like a 15-car shootout.
Yeah,
pole. I think that'd be work.
But then it brings on an issue. How many laps would you do it, and would the teams have time to rebuild the cars? Also,
they don't
even have enough cars to even have, say, like an LCQ like they have over in USAC or things like that, where they have cars that'll go home. There's no such thing as that. I think Supercross. I don't think USAC does it. They just have the heat races, and that sets the field. I like that idea. It just doesn't seem realistic to happen. It doesn't seem like the way NASCAR would do it.
Well, I don't think NASCAR would do it, but
It would
when
be
everybody was
interesting.
complaining about this, I like an idea that I think would work
Yeah, but
on
then
the
it, but
track,
then it kind
obviously.
of
But
brings that I remember an argument that happened. It would bring up the same thing like well, the Dash series that the Xfinity series did. We saw it in Indianapolis. We were there for that, where it's just the front runners do it and the back guys can't do anything. So nothing really changes. It's just we see it twice now instead of having one whole race where the big guys are dominating, and now it's just split into two races. Um,
that's fair, I guess. Indianapolis in itself is a different issue.
yeah, it is its own issue, which I want to talk about that later on because that brings up a good. I remind. Thank you for telling me that because that brings up a whole other issue with this whole schedule change I want to talk about later. So let's go to. So I guess the question is if we have anything else to talk about. I think we covered most of what we talk about. The only issue I have with qualifying in of its own is cars sitting on the track. That is the only issue that I really have. I mean pit road. I mean sitting on pit road. I understand why they do it, and people complain like, why don't they go? It's like because they don't want to ruin the engines and the tires that they have. Why would they do that and run 15 laps and kill their engines before the race starts rather than just running 2 laps? And that's what they do.
Yeah.
Like people complain about it and they say, oh, and the VP of competition, whoever his name is, says the teams let us down. No, they didn't. They're playing with the rules that you gave them to their advantage. They're doing everything you tell them to do, and you're saying they let them down. Like, no, they're just doing what you tell them to do. They're not going to go out there and pull a 15 lap run and then ruin their tires that they have to start with and then destroy the motor. Why would they do that?
I kind of wish like the back marker teams would just like
Go for it.
get like an extra payout, get an extra payout from NASCAR because it's like, hey, you guys aren't going to win the pole anyways, so NASCAR is going to incentivize you guys
To want to run more
back markers
laps.
to just go start, and then everybody can follow them. Even though they did that at Texas, it was a little too early, and it was also like 2 cars instead of like 5 back markers. But if you could get the back markers, like go get him to go out there and just somehow someone follows him, then once one goes, they all go. So there's like 30 cars on track in official because they're pretty spread out. Like even the guy who runs out first, the guy who's last, because the last guy doesn't get off onto the track until later. Many cars that need to get on the track, so everybody's jostling for position. So eventually, it actually evens everything.
All right. The only way besides that, the only um, issue that I also have, like, I don't really know. I'm trying to think about what one I'm going to lead into because it's hard to follow up with that. Is the fact that they just sit out there and this whole blocking the middle lane thing. I think it's a joke. And drivers hate it. They don't like it. They like
I think it's kind of funny.
yeah, like we heard what Clint Boyer said. It's always great to hear Clint Boyer have a word because he's like kind of one of the last Tony Stewarts, but in a funnier way. He's kind of the smartass of the whole thing. Um, like, and it's a very gray area because what would you call them blocking? I call that blocking. He's sitting in the middle lane. He should absolutely not be in the middle lane. Was he impeding him? No, but like it's the way it looked like. If you're looking at it from the pit down angle, yeah, there's a space to go through there. But Clint Boyer isn't gonna be able to make that turn because NASCARs can't make a turn like that from where he was.
Oh.
But he's sitting in the middle lane. Like you have to have that entire middle lane open. But it's a gray area rule. It's hard to enforce. Like how F1 has the no team orders. It's impossible to enforce. Um, so what I think they need to do because in IndyCar and F1 they do the same kind of thing and it's not an issue. Reason being they don't allow them to sit on pit road. If you're on pit road, that means you're getting out there. There is no fucking I'm gonna sit at the end of pit road and wait till the last 15 seconds to make a run. It's no, you're on pit road, you're going.
Oh, this is different because if you
How is
look
it
at
different? It's the same
Indy
system.
Indy specifically, if they had group qualifying at Indy for Indy cars, that everybody would want to tow.
Yeah, that's understandable. But the thing is, they're sitting on pit. They're sitting on the pit road itself. It's understandable they want to have a tow. If they want to have a tow, talk to your teammate if in the first round and say, "Hey, we're gonna go out there and do a run. Come with us." Okay, cool. Let's go do a run. I'll do one lap. You do one lap, and we'll just trade off. F1 does it too with their cars. If you watched Red Bull, you can hear them on the radio saying sometimes like, "This was my lap to go." They'll pull over and let them get a slingshot down the DRS straight to let them get a run. That's what they do, and they can do the same thing here. The way the problem with it is they're sitting out there, and that's not a problem because they're playing with the rules that they have. What they need to do though to stop this whole impeding lap time things on pit road, is just have them sit in their pit box. That's where you're supposed to be parked. I get that they allow them to do that, and I understand why they do it, but it doesn't work because it just creates this whole gray area of a congestion of cars being stuck in a line and they can't go anywhere because this guy like what Ty Dillon did, he goes forward, baits everybody behind him to go, and then backs up and then causes this huge congestion. So that way they have to wait for him to go in order to be able to leave. And that's a gray area again there too because he's not in the middle lane. He didn't do anything wrong. It was a smart thing to do
Yeah.
because he baited them. He did it pitch perfectly. It was funny to watch because like yeah, that's what he's supposed to do. He You want to catch these guys out to the last second, so that way we have what happened to Michigan in the Truck Series, where he's the only person that gets to set a lap time, and he ends up winning the pole. I think it was Tyler Reddick who ended up winning it because he was the first one to go, and he didn't. He's like, they're not gonna make it, so go. So I just think
Yeah.
I just think it should be pit road is where you park and you wait, and if you're on the actual pit wall, so if you're in a pit stall, you wait. If you're on a pit road, you're leaving. You don't get to just sit there and wait. Because while it's cool that you wait, it's like kind of a race to the clock of waiting for people. It's like, okay, when is this guy gonna go? When is this guy gonna go? It's just no. If you go, you go.
Yeah, it's really confusing. There's no help that needs to happen because I guarantee they get better ratings with this type of qualifying,
Oh, they
but
do.
it can lead to a bunch of problems,
Because well,
and
again,
it makes
that's the whole
drivers hate them.
it's the whole reason why they do it is for the TV ratings. It's why they went to group qual in the first place is to get more people in the stands and more people in to watch qualifying on TV. But the drivers don't like it for the most part. They have because there's always these gray areas that are hard to enforce rules on, and people kind of abuse it to their advantage. Which is, there's nothing wrong with that. They just play the game better than everybody else.
Drivers just need to realize that this sport has been tanking for the last whatever 20 so years, and they're trying to do whatever possible to
Keep
regain
doing the
some
job.
interest. You're not going to have a job if you keep doing this boring crap.
Yeah, exactly. I get that entirely because when the fans leave, the sponsors leave. When the sponsors leave, the cars can't run because they can't afford to run. So
I also do believe their madness comes from this all too, because the drivers hear it all the time that the sport's going down. So I think that also doesn't help because they have a different view on how to help the sport.
yeah, exactly. So I guess what we can go into next, if you want to, we can talk about St. Pete. Group qualifying. Again, we're talking about qualifying. The round one qualifying what ended up happening was Marco Andretti and another person I can't recall from the top of my head caused cautions, and everybody who was in Group One really didn't get a set of lap. So it allowed a lot of people like Ben Hanley and Colton Herta and all these other drivers that usually were going to qualify at the back of the field to go through round one. Uh, then there's nothing really much to talk about there. Marco Andretti said, "Hey, we're gonna do." They shouldn't have called a caution on that, but we digress. Robert Wickens appearing at the track for the first time. Really cool sight to see. Uh, as you can
Oh,
obviously,
weird.
huh? It's a little
What a
weird.
weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was kind of weird. But it was nice to see him. It's obvious that he really wants to get back involved in IndyCar. So seeing him back at the track was great. I tried to get an autograph from him. Didn't go very well. Uh, I was waiting outside to get the Ben Hanley interview, and it was the Dragon Speed team is right next door to the Schmidt Peterson guys. So Robert Wickens has to go through there to get there. And he's wheeling through there, and I had something to get signed. And he said, "Sorry, I had to go to an engineering meeting." I was like, "What do you have to go to an engineering meeting for?"
He's getting in the car next week.
Exactly. You heard it here first. He's gonna be in the car by Barber. He's gonna have a whole.
That's gonna be the title of this video too.
Robert Wickens announced back in IndyCar Barber. We're gonna clickbait this like David Land. Hell yeah. We're gonna get as many views as we can.
Or I say a red pill.
Red pill. It's IndyCar blue pill. You want to believe it, but it's not. It's a fantasy land.
Dixon's going to McLaren.
Yes, exactly. Dixon to McLaren. Pippa Man is going to be on the pole for the 500. You heard it here first. Then next up, Ed Jones, broken hand. Really odd wreck, to be honest. I was surprised that caused a broken hand. It was a typical wreck that you see in that corner. And then he just got plowed from behind. I don't know how that caused a broken hand, but it did. Joseph Newgarden and Penske's dominance. Newgarden tired of hearing that Penske dominance.
It's not Penske dominance. It's not even the fact that Joseph Newgarden won. It's the fact that Will freaking Power just has to ruin every single race by winning the pole.
Yeah, it's true. Very much true. Honda having trouble again. Ryan Hunter-Reay and Bourdais, their two top drivers of the weekend. Bourdais sadly had some sort of engine failure. I forget what the problem was. Died in turn 10, and then Honda's engine went off like a bomb in turn 1, and then just a huge puff of cloud. Signs of reliability issue back from 2017.
2017.
Again, plaguing Honda. Obviously, it didn't really last long, seeing how they came back and did all right in COTA, but is there...
there was something wrong with one of the engines at COTA.
Who was it? I forget. I didn't watch.
I want to say it was Herta.
No, Herta was a Chevy, isn't he?
Oh.
Whatever. I didn't watch the race. I slept through it by accident. But early on, is there a way that this could be an issue towards May? Because they haven't won the race since the Kumasato, but even in there, they had a lot of issues. So could there be impending problem that they could have reliability issues heading towards Barber and Long Beach and then Indianapolis?
Problem was the thing that evened it out was Honda was way faster than the Chevys at Indy that year. Universal aero kit, I think Chevy's going to be just dominant if these problems keep happening because they're going to have the same amount of speed, but Honda's not going to have those aero kit helpful. I don't know. But I just remember 2017, there was only one Chevy in the Fast 9, and he finished 9th, and that was Will Power.
Yeah. Chevy was doomed not to win the race in the start. Honda just straight up killed it in 17. And then this universal air kit obviously benefits Chevy because it's obvious because while Honda won the championship, Chevy just seemed to be on top winning most of the races that year. And then it's kind of in the same way this year. Just early on, Chevy's been winning all the races. And they just dominating the series. Moving on from that, Felix Rosenquist had a really good outing at St. Pete, and then going into COTA, he had another great race until he got turned by James Hinchcliffe into the wall, ruining his race. So, what are your thoughts on Felix Rosenquist and his first two openers as a IndyCar driver?
My thoughts are that Mexican driver who's the best rookie, and no one gives him his props.
You talk about your boy
Tricio Ward.
Patricio, the man who I couldn't find the entire
Okay,
weekend at.
yeah,
Okay.
Rosenquist is great, but this is going to last, and we've never seen him on an oval with this car. I don't know. I just think he's a better driver in general. But Felix is pretty good. He had a good chance of winning at St. Pete if it wasn't for those dang Penske drivers.
Exactly. He was probably one of the drivers that everyone kind of watched out for the entire weekend, and then he proved it of why people should have watched out for him going into the race, and showed it in qualifying, and then showed it in the race, and then he also showed it towards um, the most of the race with the move he made on willpower, and then just muscling his way, almost finishing better than his teammate Scott Dixon. I think he did, didn't he?
I don't. I thought Dixon finished second in that race.
I believe he did. I really should have took notes for that.
Dixon finished second. He finished fourth.
That's right. It came down to pit strategy.
Yeah. Which is crazy because I can feel pressure from Dixon being like, okay, I better do some shit or
You're gonna lose this
I get
race.
mad.
You're gonna lose it, and then you're gonna get shoved out of your ride, which is probably impossible. But regardless,
But yeah, it's definitely impossible.
uh, going on to the Australian Grand Prix. Insane end to qualifying one. A lot of headlines over there to talk about. Ricardo failing to make it in round one, and then Pierre Gasly with Red Bull for the first time in a long time, knocked out of Q3 based on pure speed. One of the things that happened last year was at Monaco, where Max Verstappen wrecked his car in one of the practice sessions and didn't get to qualify, so he ended up starting the back, which is a really poor result from Pierre Gasly, getting knocked out in Q1. Lando Norris going into Q3, and then straight up Mercedes being 2 seconds faster than Ferrari in general. Any
Jeez.
any thoughts from qualifying at all?
Uh, I'm just really disappointed in Daniel Ricciardo.
It was very disappointing.
Sucks.
The pain could be felt when he didn't make Q3, and then at the first lap of the race, hitting some sort of drainage ditch or whatever it was. No one really knows what it was. It just destroyed the front wing, and then having to retire later in the race.
I mean, you look where he was last year, and then you're just like, where did it all go wrong?
He admitted it from the beginning. He knows that in the beginning, that first season, he's not gonna win a race, or at least have a real good shot at it, or even really getting a podium. So he knows it's a baby step, but he's at a double DNF so far in both Australia and Bahrain. The one of them was because of an issue that could be blamed on him, and then just Bahrain straight on um, reliability issues that happened towards the end of the race, which we'll talk about later on. Um, so
It's just sad because, in my opinion, he's the second biggest personality in the sport behind Lewis Hamilton, and you can't
absolutely,
be a personality with not being at the top of the sport. You're one of the lowest. You don't even have a single point.
yeah, it's hard to watch, to be honest. What isn't hard to watch is Valtteri Bottas. Dominated the race from the get go. While he didn't win the pole, he led almost the entire race, besides at least one point due to a pit stop that allowed Max Verstappen to get Honda its first lead in a GP since I believe 2008. Um, so very good showing by Valtteri Bottas. He won the race by 25 seconds. He just killed it from the start of the race. It wasn't even a fight for the lead. Um, even won the fastest lap, and they were trying to tell him over the radio, "Hey, you don't need to do this." I was like, "Yeah, I do. I want 26 points. I want 26 points leaving this. I don't want someone to get a point on me." So he took that. He took the fastest lap, and he backs it up with a P2 at Bahrain, which we'll also get into later. Uh, Early showing of dominance, and could we see a possible repeat of what Nico Rosberg did to Lewis Hamilton in 2015?
The short answer,
I guess so, unless you have a long answer.
no. Nico Rosberg is way better than Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah, but you got to wonder if going into this season, could the fact that Esteban Ocon was potentially gonna get Valtteri Bottas's ride for the 2020 season. So you gotta wonder if this has urged him to want to go out and win more races and potentially battle Lewis for the title. Because if I'm correct, depending on who has the fastest lap, which I believe is Max Verstappen, uh, he's still ahead of him by 1 point.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's ahead of him by 1 point because of the fastest lap, which is funny enough to believe. Because
I don't like that rule.
I like it. It creates something interesting. It's just like something that we're talking about while I was doing a sim race earlier is that they should do it so that way cars that are back markers who give up midway through the race can say, okay, at least I can go out and get this bonus point for having the fastest lap. I think it's interesting.
Fair, but it's going to be the same 3 teams.
Yeah, but it creates something interesting because now drivers can go, okay, well I can't win the race, and I don't have to sit back and watch. I can actually go out there and at least get the fastest lap award. I like it.
Fair enough.
It creates the drivers to want to strive more to be faster on the track because usually, like what it was last year, by lap halfway through the race, they'll say, okay, we're not going to get the win, just preserve the car. Now it's like, okay, it's halfway through the race, well, we're not going to win. I want this fucking point. Go out there and put the fastest lap of your goddamn life.
It just shows how uncompetitive F1 can be at sometimes.
Yeah, but
your argument was, well, we're not going to win the race, so let's win the extra point. Well, you should always think you're going to win the race, but when you're 25 seconds behind, like everybody was to Bottas, you know you're not going to win the race, and it's just kind of uncompetitive in a way.
Yeah, but it keeps them to wanting to want to go faster instead of just riding around. It makes them want to actually strive to be the fastest car on the track, so you can at least get that point.
Yeah.
Because you could be outside 11th place and not be able to get a point, but you still have a chance of possibly getting the fastest lap, depending on what your toe is or how good you are in the DRS. It depends on a lot of things, but you still have that possibility.
I get it. Points are just so limited.
It is, but for somewhat good reasons, I guess. It's kind of weird. I've never understood it, but I'm not going to question it. I know you probably didn't watch us talk about the C-Ring, but I want to get into that real quick. Cadillac straight up dominating the race since the get-go. Mazda won the pole. No, it was Acura who won the pole. It started off as a monsoon. The race started under caution. Once it got green, the Cadillac shot around the Mazdas and just straight up 1, 2, 3'd it for most of the race. It was either the Action Express team of the 31 Wheelan killing it there, or it was the Wayne Taylor Racing of Jordan Taylor going out and beating him. But that was only because of pit stop strategy. It was only when the two cars were pitting, because once the cars pitted and the 10 car got back out, the 31 car was already back out around him and having like a 2-second lead. Mazda again with reliability issues. I believe it was a 77 car. Caught a little fire midway through the race. They got it fixed, and he went back out there to finish the race. But again, reliability issues striking the Yost Mazda team for the second race in a row. This time, though, it wasn't terminal enough to kill the car, but it still shows that Mazda has its own issues to work out. Ford unable to lock up the GT Le Mans win after dominating most of the race, as it proved at Daytona. While they can't beat them in the dry, they sure as hell can beat them in the rain. And they did, until Ryan Briscoe fucked it all up and overdrove the corner battling a GT3 car trying to get to the 911 Porsche, and thus spinning the car and losing the race in the final minutes of the race, which absolutely sucked to watch. And then watching Felipe Nasr, he was on fire throughout the entire 12 hours of the race. I believe, in my honesty, this is a topic that was brought up by one of the IndyCar analyst, I believe it was Paul Tracy. Yes, I believe it was Paul Tracy. Was watching him through the race and said in all honesty, he could thrive in the conditions that IndyCar has, and I have an interest in that. If he ever went to IndyCar, would you think he'd do any better?
I think all the F1 rejects do better.
Of course, you would say that. I knew you were. I should have knew that you were gonna make that argument.
He's a good driver, and they do need a new nice loving Brazilian because the other two are going to retire soon. But I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Marcus Ericsson actually hasn't done that well, if I'm being
No,
honest.
he hasn't.
But most of the rejects are pretty good.
Now you gotta wonder this part though: is it because of the fact that they weren't able to get a car that had um, the speed, like how Marcus Harrison was stuck at Sauber his entire career? It wasn't able to actually show what he had because he came over to IndyCar and he did pretty good. And while he didn't have the pace to back it up, he was running pretty well. I mean by pace, I mean the result that he had, but he actually showed that he could do it. Um,
You got to think, where is he going to go?
what do you mean?
Where would Felipe Nasser fit in and do well? Even though IndyCar is less or more competitive than F1 and it's not the same three teams, even they still have an advantage. And he's not going to go to Penske. He's not going to go to Ganassi either. Those two have a lock set. Yeah, but I mean,
he loves his Brazilians. It's obvious he loves his Brazilians.
I get that, but what have they done in the last 4 years?
You gotta wonder what drivers have they had in the last 4 years. You mean
they had the greatest Colombian of all time, Carlos Munoz, driving for them, and they couldn't do anything with him.
Yeah, they also sucked in that last year. I'm not even going to try and deny that part, but they've done pretty well so far with this whole universal aero kit. It's obvious that they're actually bringing it up because another problem that they had was they couldn't keep a fucking engine manufacturer for the life of them.
Yeah, it all just depends. I would love to see Chip get him and Felix as Scott can kind of like show him the ways for his last couple years.
Yeah, that would be awesome. But if Felipe Nasr could have gone there, but something that I believe he could go to since he's a Cadillac driver and that's a Chevy partner, he'd probably end up driving for a Chevy team. I mean, there could be some theory of what happens if Wayne Taylor obviously has the money to go and do it, but I doubt he'd.
Oh man.
What, Wayne Taylor going in IndyCar?
I mean, I don't know how this works, but his second son's not even on the team, so I don't know how that works. But
Ricky Taylor went off to Penske, but they kept Jordan, which is the one that really mattered, and it shows.
The funny one.
Yeah, the one that everybody loves. You love both the Taylor. You love both the Taylor brothers, but it's Jordan that is obviously the personality. I love Jordan Taylor with a passion. He's one of the greatest guys in the.
Rodney Sandstorm.
Rodney Sandstorm. Hell yeah! Just keep your eye on Mid Ohio. There's something that's gonna show up in Mid Ohio in a couple weeks. It's gonna be really great. Yeah, it'd be awesome to see Wayne Taylor go and do it. I would love to see Jordan Taylor pop his head in IndyCar racing too. That'd be awesome to see him at least try and run the 500. I think there might be some bit of an interest there of him running the 500.
Yeah, the only problem with this is I like knowing that the kids like grew up in Indy, they went through Indy Lights and all that. I like that, but it's never gonna happen again.
What, like the whole like
you start IndyCar drivers start in Indy Lights. They don't start in Formula F1 or whatever.
Well, yeah, because they grew up because they already built their ranks. It's obvious that they don't because the point of having Indy Lights is it teaches these young drivers how to drive or race in general. Is to get experience under the belt so that way they know how to race. People like Fernando Alonso, Marcus Ericsson, Felix Rosenquist, Robert Wickens, and Jordan Taylor and Felipe Nasr, they race for years. They already know how to race. It just depends on how much testing they have to get used to that car, and then they can go out and race. They don't need to go through Indy Lights to learn how to race. They already know how to race other people.
Do you think it gives them a bad look when you've got all these F1 drivers who like their sport and they come over and dominate. Like Robert Wickens couldn't even do anything with his test drive or whatever Mercedes ride he had, and then he comes over and is a beast.
Because he was known as the bottom tier, like he was the feeder series dominates. That's what everybody knows him as. He was taught by Michael Schumacher how to race. What it comes down to is money and sponsors. That's mostly what it is. That's how someone like Lance Stroll gets a ride, is because he has sponsors and money to back it. That's how every single driver in F1 today gets it. They get it based off of money, sponsors, or they had one good year and then people just pick up to them. That's kind of like how Charles Leclerc and Jules Bianchi did it. But what it mostly comes down to is sponsorship money, which is what a lot of these drivers didn't have. Just didn't have the money to go and do it.
Which is kind of crazy because there's a lot of people who disagree with that, but yet the racing series in the world.
Very obvious. If you don't have a sponsor to back it, you're not gonna survive a day in F1. Like,
but
you show the results, but that's on a rare occasion that they're gonna show results and it actually happens.
Kind of curious what would happen if Lewis Hamilton went bankrupt and no one would want to sponsor him.
He'd probably leave. He's done what he needs to do.
He'd go to IndyCar with all the other rejects.
No, he's repeatedly said he's
I know.
IndyCar,
you know why he does that. It is all the ultimate heel stuff. He wants to keep his ground of Europe fans who think IndyCar, and they have a legitimate argument because of guys like Marcus Ericsson.
That's always been a topic that we've always talked about, is IndyCar being a place for reject F1 drivers. The only argument I have with that is a lot of those drivers just couldn't get the break to go and race in top tier seats. Marcus never got the chance. Felix never got the chance. Robert never got the chance. Like, yeah, he did it with Mercedes, but was that really during?
The only other argument is the Indy 500. I dare one of them to go jump in an Indy 500 car or whatever. But Fernando kind of.
Yeah, I get that. I guess that could be like a separate video we talk about later. Moving on from that, just last thing we could talk about is the Bahrain GP. We were just talking about F1. Let's continue to talk about F1 and let's round it out there. Charles Leclerc, second drive for Ferrari, finally wins a pole position. Pierre Gasly again fails to make Q3. This time he made Q2, but barely. At the last second, he made it to Q2. But again, a disappointing run from Pierre Gasly in a second ride at a top tier C, which is sparking a lot of conversation. How long is Red Bull going to give him, and how long will it be until we possibly see Daniel Kvyat, who is, just like he did a couple years ago, showing the pace that he could be a top tier ride if given the right stuff to work with. Will we see Pierre Gasly get jumped down back to Toro Rosso and Daniel Kvyat moved back up to Red Bull? Do you see that possibility?
I don't think it this quickly. I mean, give him some time. Yeah, we just talked about how Daniel Ricciardo would need a year, but yet people are saying, "Well, let's bring Kvyat up."
Kvyat.
Thing.
Kvyat. It's sorry, he's Russian. But yeah, I wasn't talking about like immediately. People are talking about towards the midway through the season. If he keeps this up to where he can't make Q3, how long? Like, people are saying like, oh, he's probably gonna. I call it by Austria. You're gonna see a switch in the Red Bull camp, because obvious if you can't sort of results, they have the second team for the reason, that exact reason. It's obvious Albon isn't gonna do it.
Yeah, I say give him a little time, but if by the end of the season he's not consistently making Q3, it's time to go.
Exactly. Ferrari, they didn't show it in Australia, but they sure as hell showed it here. They got a front row lockout with Sebastian Vettel in second, and throughout the race they had the pace against Mercedes. They were out front most of the time until the Vettel incident and then reliability issues, which we'll get into later. But is there a possibility that Ferrari has finally found the pace, and if so, will we actually see a fight from Ferrari to go out and actually compete with Mercedes for the constructors title, rather than just letting Mercedes stomp all over them and then just straight up killing them, and the constructors titles were like 200 points ahead of them by like silver, like you can't get the Singapore I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be as close as it's been in years past, if I'm being honest, because at the start of last year, things were looking close. If I can't remember, what was last year, the year Vettel won Australia?
Yes.
Yeah, things were starting off a little better, but I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
Leclerc, I haven't given him credit in the past, but I think he can be something for them.
yeah, but you gotta remember back then, while I am a Kimi Räikkönen fan, I will absolutely admit he was one of the things that were kind of holding him back at Ferrari for a while, because while Vettel did win Australia, the person got second, Lewis Hamilton. It was, and then it just became a Mercedes 1-2 for most of the season, and whenever Vettel won, Hamilton was second, and it wasn't really a whole lockout on the podium or it was a Ferrari podium. It was mostly just a Mercedes podium when the Ferrari driver sitting on top. So you got to wonder if this is the year where Ferrari can actually go out and bring the fight to Mercedes, not only for the driver's title but for the constructors' title, because they've gone back to back since 2014. Yeah, I believe it was 2014.
Wow, that's
Because
dominant.
Mercedes is just that damn good. It's just straight up, they're that damn good. I will
The
give them.
fact that Ferrari can't even make a run for it is just crazy. I mean,
It
they've
is.
got to figure it out.
They do, and it's obvious that they do. They fired. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce the names, but they fired the last principal of the team and brought in a new one. And they showed in Spain that they supposedly had the pace to go out and beat Mercedes. Mercedes was second to them the entire 2 weeks of testing, and then coming to Australia, Mercedes took the sandbags off and killed them in qualifying. And then coming to Bahrain, we saw kind of what we saw at Spain, where while Mercedes was there with them, Ferrari had the quicker pace throughout most of testing. I mean, the weekend, where they were faster than them in the practice sessions, they're faster than them in qualifying, and then they're faster than them in the race. And then, while the results didn't show it, they sure as hell have the pace to do it. Moving on from that, Carlos Sainz retiring in the first two races of the season from McLaren. One of them for reliability issues, the other one for an issue of driver failure. Bad signs for Carlos Sainz early on, while Lando Norris is currently swamping him with points finishes. This is honestly one of the best runs out of McLaren they've had in the past few years. We're not going to talk about that though because there's not really much to talk about there yet. Um, Sebastian Vettel, we're finally going to talk about Ferrari again. He's battling with Lewis Hamilton midway through the race for the race lead. They go in out of a DRS zone. I believe it's turn 5. It's really hard to map out some of the corners there. He goes through turn 5, spins the tires, just straight up spins the tires and loses it, effectively costing him the win. It cost him the win, it cost him the podium, and it could have cost him points because not even a couple laps later, his front wing exploded and he lost a lot more positions because of that. Um, and now the question is, how many more chances is Ferrari going to give him? Because you got to remember, the last couple years, Sebastian Vettel has been in positions to where he could have gone out and win the driver's title. Well, like for example, last year Australia. I mean Germany. It was in Germany. He had the race in his hands, fucked up going into one of the final corners on the track, went into a sand trap and wrecked the car, and he had to retire from the race, and that's what cost him the championship. Japan, he had a couple bad runs, like 2017, I believe it was. He had a couple good runs going, and he was on a high streak. He was in the points lead where he could have won the championship in 2017. Going to Japan, had a failure there that cost him the title. So you got to wonder. He's choked the last 2 years towards becoming a repeating storyline of failure from him, where he's come so close, but he's fucked up somewhere. So you got to wonder how many more times is he going to have chances of doing well before Ferrari says, okay, we got Charles Leclerc here, we're going to move on. You're now our number 2 driver. You're our Kimi Räikkönen.
Uh, uh, he's still right there every single year. I get that he messes up, but you can't demote him to the second place driver yet. At least he's only 31 too, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I'm not saying, like I said about the Pierre Gasly, not now, but when, if he keeps this up. Because this could be the third year in a row where he has a title in his hands and then he messes up completely on his own.
I don't think there's anyone in the whole sport besides Max Verstappen who is better than him to dethrone
Do you want to look at the
his
qualifying
car.
results? I believe there's a certain young star that has shown that he has the pace to go out there and actually beat Vettel.
How many podiums does he have?
Currently won, but he wasn't on that podium in that race. Vettel.
Fair enough. But if Vettel would have started that race with feeling, he would have kept it.
Yeah, but you gotta remember, he spun completely on his own, and that's what cost him. He lost it due to driver error, just like he lost the title in 2018 because of driver error. It wasn't because of the car, because he overdrove the corner straight into the sand trap and then smashed it into the wall. Well, not smashed it, but stuffed it in the wall to the point where they had to retire. He's cost himself time and time again championships, and while he is young, still respectively, you gotta wonder they want to win a championship. Ferrari needs to win a championship. This isn't
They're not going to.
how so.
Car. Hamilton is just better. Mercedes is just better.
Yeah, but you know that they want to go out there and beat them for the driver's title, which they had the possibility to the past 2 years, but they all lost it. But
Just not gonna happen.
okay, I guess we'll come back to this topic later on in the season. Uh, Leclerc again, Leclerc.
Call me after Lewis wins 6 Grand Prix in a row.
All right, I will. Leclerc, he had the race in his hands. This one isn't driver error. This one is because of reliability issues. He had the race won in the final stages of the race. Had an engine issue in the race to where he didn't have the pace. He gets passed by Lewis Hamilton. He gets passed by Valtteri Bottas. He finishes third. Signs of reliability problems again for Ferrari as they just had last week, where Sebastian Vettel, I believe, was the one who had reliability issues. We had about the same engine issues to where he couldn't finish ahead where he could have. Well, he struggled with the pace all weekend. He didn't even make the podium. So you gotta wonder if they're gonna have issues the entire season, and if so, how's this gonna affect everything?
I think it was just a one-time thing.
I mean, this is the second race in a row where their lead driver, while at Australia he wasn't in the lead, the guy in front for the team had reliability issues, to where they couldn't compete at the level, at the speed that they could have with the pace. And this one, this time, actually cost them a win.
What could have possibly changed from last year?
Huh?
What could have possibly changed from last
I'm
year?
talking about this year.
I know, but I'm saying like, did they have these problems every single race
No,
last year?
no.
Exactly. What happened?
What happened last year to lose them the championship? Are you talking
No,
about?
I'm not. No, 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 no. I'm trying to I'm trying to figure out why they're having these failures this year when they had basically the same exact car last year.
It's just it was basic. I don't really know. To be honest, I would have to bring in one of my people that watch F1 religiously and know the tech behind it, which we probably will. Um, but basically, the only thing I see is Ferrari's having reliability issues early on in the season, and I don't. And while it's not costing them wins, it's costing them. Well, I mean, not podiums. I mean, it's not costing them podiums. It's costing them wins. And if they can't fix it, they're gonna end up losing another constructors title and another driver's title. which is not what they need right now. Because they've been on a very bad streak. Because it's been over 10 years since a Ferrari driver has won a title, and it's very, very bad for them. Uh, and then the last thing we talk about, Renault. We're gonna talk about Renault again. Double DNF this week. Well, I guess today. But at the same time, too, Daniel Ricciardo retiring for liability issues, and then straight up Nico Hulkenberg's engine just blew up. Major issues, signs of weakness in Renault's car. And could it be because of the fact that they lost the deal with Red Bull, so now they don't have that data to go off of?
That could be it. I'm not an expert in F1, so these problems are.
Fair enough. I need to get you watching F1 more. It's just a bad start for Renault. They had a decent finish with Nico, but so far, Daniel Ricciardo hasn't pulled a single point. And this time it wasn't his fault, which I give him props for. He actually was running pretty decently.
That also doesn't help that my favorite driver is DNFing 2 weeks in a row and isn't with a premier team now. I'm kind of mad about this.
Who knows? It's obvious they're getting better. They finished 4th in the Constructors' title last year. So while they're not with the top 3, they're still the best mid-pack team. And it's still kind of like a rebuilding process because they're not at the same height that they were back in 2006 and 5, where they're on top of their game. And in 2008, they fucked it all up because of a crash gate, which I'm not even going to try and get into, but that ended up ruining everything that they had. And now it's just kind of a restart. And they've been improving. They've improved. You gotta remember, they came back to the form that they were now back in like 2015, and they're already 4th in the Constructors' title. Same thing with Haas. They're battling for that, and they've only existed for 3 years, or 4 or 5. They've like 4 or 5 years, and they're already competing for like being known as the best mid-pack team. So it's already a great thing to see there. It's just sad, especially for Ricciardo. I guess any final thoughts throughout the weekend or through a general?
Well, this has to do with F1 and IndyCar. Back on that subject, I still will never understand why IndyCar went to COTA. Hey, do you want to even? Why do you even want to think about an F1 track? You guys are competitors. Don't do it.
I didn't say that. I wasn't even gonna try and say that.
Oh, I'm just saying, like in general, it was a good race, but it just I'm thinking in the back of my head, Lewis Hamilton would have lapped them 40 times by now.
Yeah, I don't understand the argument of why they bring that up. It's like, oh, F1's faster. It's like F1's faster, so it's better. It's like, no shit, it's faster. They have like a $4 million funding. They have 2 times the funding that an IndyCar team has. Of course, they're gonna be faster. I don't understand why this argument always comes up.
I will say the track limit thing where they didn't enforce it. I liked it.
You like that? I thought that was stupid.
Yes, because I like that the driver that's one thing I don't like about getting penalties for not staying in between the lines when you're racing. No, I like that the fact that you can overshoot it and then come around. I like that there's many different lines you can play.
I didn't. I just thought it was kind of dumb that they did that. I understand why they did it, but it was like, come on. They have track limits for a reason, and it just brought out a lot of F1 fans from the woodworks. It's like, hey, guys, the track limit's here. Why are you all the way out there? It's like, if you're going to call a track limits issue on that, then why did you call a track limits issue for Sebastian Bourdais that cost him Long Beach? That's my problem. Because you have guys going like, why are you forcing track limits now when you didn't do it then? Or I mean, why'd you do it then if you're not going to do it now? You're letting guys go like 50 feet off the track into the gray area that's meant to be used as runoff for cars that overshoot the corner, so that way they don't slam into the wall and break their backs. Now you're letting them go out that far. And that's what caused the Felix Rosenquist crash.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it. And if I
It
see Max Papis during the month of May, I'm going to ask him about that, of why he did that. Because I don't understand why they're forcing that.
it's really weird because I see where you're coming from, but I do think it made for a better race
It
in
did.
general.
It did, but
Agree that with your Sebastian Bourdais argument though, which I don't think there should. I think there should be less track limits, if anything.
let him race.
Exactly.
Because the thing about this is a year old, I understand that, but this is still a big issue. Is there was nobody exiting the pits. Why are you gonna call that?
And it was awesome.
Yes, if there is no car exiting the pits, if there's a car exiting the pits and did that, I can totally understand why they give him that. But there is no car. It's like they're in the middle of a run and there's no car exiting the pit lane. How is that an issue? If there's a car exiting the pit, then yeah, enforce it. But there isn't. Just let him race. He had no he had the run. He made the pass. Let him do it. And it was a great pass, but it's one of the highlights of the season. But it's overshadowed by the fact that he got a penalty for it.
Nothing like a highlight where one car airborne.
Don't even bring me on that.
Yeah,
Don't bring anybody like Dixon fan on that because it's just stupid. And then the NASCAR schedule. Now there's a little bit we could talk about there. For instance, the Pocono doubleheader. I don't really have any opinions on that. I know.
they never gave details.
They did not really. Well, like what on why they did it?
Like, are you going to use the same car? Are you how? I don't like the way IndyCar does it with Detroit.
Well, nobody likes Detroit.
So I think they need to. No, in general.
Yeah, nobody likes it in general, except Chevy. Chevy and Penske. They're the only two people that like Detroit. If yeah, it brings a headache on the engineers. Obviously, I don't.
Cares? That makes it better.
Yeah, but then there's the other issue. If you have a Pocono doubleheader, is it going to be two 400-mile races or 200 or two 250-mile races or two?
We're gonna split it up. I think it's gonna be 300 apiece.
300 miles apiece.
Yes.
So a
300 miles apiece.
A 600 miler.
Oh yeah.
So Charlotte's no longer the longest race of the season.
Or the longest... it's two different races. Yeah, it's right. Two different races.
You're right. But then it would just be called the Pocono 600, wouldn't it?
Oh, it's two different races. Yeah. They'd be two 300s.
But why would a sponsor want to sponsor that? Why would a sponsor?
You can call it the doubleheader at Pocono.
Fair enough.
In MLB, if a game gets rained out, they have doubleheaders, but you play the same team, for example, because you have 3 games in a row with the same team. So if the Cubs are playing the Yankees, rained out, they play 2 games in one day. That doesn't count as one game. That counts as 2.
Yeah, but I guess an issue would be like how with the players playing 2 games in one day, it's like you having 2 cars race on one weekend. So that also like.
It's the fun part.
Yeah, but are they gonna let them use a new car in case? Because
they say no.
But do you think a car is gonna be able to last that long?
Endurance, baby.
Everyone wants an endurance race. That's what everybody wants is an endurance NASCAR race.
Sponsored by IMSA.
The 12 hours. Well, yeah, NASCAR owns IMSA, so yeah. ISC does. It's weird.
ISC is. Ugh.
It's all weird. IMSA.
I do like the schedule changes though.
You like Indianapolis being moved?
I have a proposition that won't make any sense.
Issue with that, but I understand why they did it, and I have a theory.
You don't have an issue with it at all. You have an issue because you actually go to the race.
No.
That's why.
No, because there's another event that weekend that it's gonna cause issues for. There is a go-karting event that goes on during that same weekend that's scheduled for this year. Now they have to find a new date.
They'll just push it back 2 weeks.
Yeah, but that just caused an issue there. I didn't like it because like you're putting this big national go-karting event in jeopardy because of a date change. And now
you're not. You're just pushing it back 2 weeks, and it's in a year, over a year. So it's not that big of a deal.
But they have a lot of smaller event series that come to Indianapolis and race. If you go there in the
Okay,
middle of the summer,
you're
there's.
not scheduling your flights right now.
I just didn't like it.
I like it.
I didn't like it just because of the fact that it straight up was scheduled on the same date. I didn't like that. I had a problem with that, but apparently USAC already said they're going to find another date, so it doesn't really.
Really, people go to the go-karts
Yeah, it's a
on
big.
July 4th weekend.
Yes, it's a huge event. It is an absolutely huge event. They have like multi-class races, and everybody like the turn 3 infield is packed to the brim of go-kart stalls. It is ridiculous. It's a huge event because Margay and Ignite, who are two go-kart manufacturers, show up for that, and they have their own paddocks where people can rent a cart and race for the weekend. It's a big event.
I can understand it being big event. I still don't understand why someone would have a problem with it being pushed 2 weeks back.
No, it's just the fact that they schedule it on the same day. It's not the fact that they're pushing it back. It's just when it first came out, people were like, "Wait, what about the USAC race?" That's what my main issue was. Was obvious that they've already solved some issue. I don't know when it's gonna be. I just had a problem that it was on the date. Um,
I like it, and I also think there's a different way of doing Indy in general because I think they should do it the same week of the IndyCar GP and have both of those races in the same weekend.
oh God, that'd be terrible. Because of the fact that you have to find a place for the NASCAR stands to go for the stalls, like the garage stalls. And then the fact that they have to.
Do that at Texas.
Yeah, but they don't have to redo the track.
So I'm saying this is never going to happen, but let them race on the road course like May 12th. Whatever weekend
So you want it to be a road course race?
Yes.
Well, there's actually something interesting that you brought up there because I forgot about this until now. You're gonna hear this here first. NASCAR is scheduled to do a tire test on the road course in June. So take what you will out of that.
I'm going to take the fact that they're either going to do 2 races at Indy or they're going to decide not to do the road course. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
For that Brickyard 400.
Because something that Doug Bowles wanted to do was he wanted to do Xfinity on the road course permanently, and then NASCAR switches on and off. So 1 year they do the oval, next year they do the road course. So that keeps it interesting. NASCAR said, "Fuck no." They said no, but now it's kind of like.
Of course they did. They get huge ratings.
No. They said no in general to both. To both the road
courses. Would too.
For the Xfinity series, because the Xfinity series.
They make more money off of ovals. This is a complete fact.
Yeah, but then it also drags out the road course ringers, like James Davison and Connor Daly.
I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm saying from NASCAR's standpoint, they don't care.
Yeah, I get that.
They care about Boris Said or James Davison or Connor Daly. They care about their drivers.
Yeah, but it just pulls kind of an interest to it. That's like from fans' perspective and sponsor perspectives.
Get that, but nothing's pulling interest at NASCAR in Indiana in the same. Even though I still like this change because in general, it's going to suck for the fans that go, but on TV, it's.
Yeah, I guess I can understand that. A theory I have though is they moved it from September to July. So now there's a big gap between July to the air race, which is in October, which is probably not going to last much longer because the hype's kind of already worn off.
Yoshi!
Huh?
Yoshi, baby!
We
made that fun. It was not fun, but we made it fun.
It was fun. I'm not even going to try tonight. It was fun, but it was also hot last year because I worked that event and it was hot.
It was hot? I remember when it was freezing.
Yeah, because there was cloud cover and rain. This year was actually.
Oh, that was awful.
Yeah. What I'm talking about is now there's a big gap between the Brickyard and the air race, which means there's an open date. And for a while, we've already known F1 has wanted to come back to Indianapolis Could we see a possible new date for F1 coming to Indianapolis in 2020 or at least 2021?
No.
No.
They like COTA.
Yeah, but no, they want more.
Indy was ruined the year they screwed it all up with the tires.
Well, no, yeah, but here's the thing: they added the chicane, and here's the thing: F1 has said they want to add 2 more races in the Americas by 2021.
Why would they say that?
Like a couple months ago, it was announced a couple months ago.
No, but out of all places, why would they want to come here? They do the least amount of revenue here.
It's Indianapolis. No, are you kidding me? It's one of the cheapest races of the year.
They do the least amount of revenue. They don't get any money from it.
But everybody in the world comes to it.
Cheapest
It's usually
seats.
a sold-out event.
It doesn't matter if it's sold out or not.
They're gonna.
If you sell tickets for $1 and sell the whole thing out, $300,000. If you sell 200 tickets at $2,000, think about that's still more.
It's obvious.
You're gonna have a huge crowd, but you need to up the prices.
Yeah, but it's obvious that F1 wants to go back to Indy. They had a weird media thing here a couple months ago that was supposedly going to be a part of, but it ended up not. It's obvious F1 has an interest in coming back to Indianapolis. Doug Bowles has said in the past the door is open for them to come back.
Of course he's going to say that.
No, he said he's talked to Liberty in the past and told them the door is always open if they want to come back. F1 obviously has interest in wanting to come back to Indianapolis. They made a post saying, "Hey, Indy fans, what do you like better about F1?" And they had people come in and do an interview. I don't know when they did that. I don't know when the video's gonna be released. I suppose later on. But it's obvious F1 has an interest in coming back to Indianapolis because they want more races in the States to get more United States fans.
Was the last race the one with all the tire issues?
No, 2005. It was 2 years prior.
Why did they keep going there?
Because they liked it.
Like that derailed everything.
Yeah, because they didn't have the chicane. Now they have the chicane. It's why they had the IndyCar GP, in my opinion. It wasn't because of the fact like, oh, now they have 2 races in Indianapolis. No, it's to show F1, hey, we have the chicane. That was, in my opinion, the whole reason. I think it is going to come back.
I think it will, but not this soon.
What do you mean this soon? They have like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I think it'll be like a long time, like 2025.
Really? You think 2025 is the soonest?
Really think it's going to come back in 2 years?
Yes, they said if we're going to come back to Indianapolis, it's going to be in 2021. That's the soonest they can get it done. And it's obvious it's been in the works. They have a peaked interest in wanting to come back to Indy because they have a history there and they know they can get it done. Would you rather than go back to Vegas or race in a parking lot? That's what they did in the past and it sucked.
I'm not saying I wouldn't go. I'm just saying, in a business standpoint, it's not the right move.
Rather than going to COTA, which is in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, Texas.
I'm not saying that's great either. I'm just saying the best races aren't in this.
I guess we'll digress and bring that up later if it ever comes up. I bet it will come up later on. Anyways, I guess that's gonna wrap it up. We'll see you guys whenever we do another video. I'm trying to figure out the whole schedule part of all this because it's conflicting. Until then, I'm Noah.
Same time, same place, please.